This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour being brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. 6 great flavors of slushies. And not only that, ready-to-drink cocktails. High Noon Jack Daniel's Crown Royal. Pickle Bar led by my 2 personal favorites, the Barrels and the Dills. Indeed, second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. It's always a privilege to be joined by my good friend Rich Scarcella, Writing Eagle, among other outlets to find him. Rich, welcome.
Good afternoon, Steve. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for asking. Okay, so through 3 games, I think that the comments that we make about Oregon and Penn State, this is just my opinion, Rich, would be the same comments we would have made in May, because I don't think we know much more about either team. Would that be fair?
Well, I think it's really fair. I've had Penn State fans, some of whom I'm related to, express their concern about how Penn State has looked in the first 3 games. And I've said to them, would you feel any more confident if Penn State won the first 3 games by 100-0 each? And they said, that's a good point. I said, yeah, exactly. I said, so, I mean, you and I know, and a lot of people around the team know, this is the barometer, this is the litmus test. Oregon, like, what happened in the first 3 games, you don't have to put a lot of credence in it. You don't have to put a lot of weight on it. Are there things for Penn State that Penn State needed to work on after the first 3 games? Of course. And you could probably say the same thing about Oregon. But this is it's a litmus test for both teams. And I'm with you. We probably would have said the same thing in May.
I mean, Dante Moore, I think in the first 4 games it's shown that he's not the turnover-prone guy that he was at UCLA. But that's about it. Because what surprised me on Saturday in watching them against Oregon State is I thought they'd win by 28-35, which they did. Mm-hmm. But Oregon State, I thought, ran the ball decently against them. And the other part, too, is I was really surprised at how few tackles were made behind the line of scrimmage by the Oregon defense.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance. I've recorded the game, and I'm planning to watch it tonight. But I know that game was it didn't. I don't think Oregon broke it open until the second half. No. Or maybe I'm wrong about that, because I was watching. There were so many games to watch, and I had a Syracuse alum who happened to be with us for the week, my son. So we were watching Syracuse-Clemson, and then with the delay, so we were really paying a lot of attention to that. But I think you probably, people in Oregon or Oregon fans probably could say this. They're probably worried and nervous, and let's see what happens. Traveling across the country. So, there are things. There are things that both teams, I'm sure, feel that they needed to work on going into this game.
Right. No, quite. Look, they're both going to find out exactly where they are on Saturday night at this point of the season. I do have to ask you, since you watched the Syracuse-Clemson game, you had to be impressed. I know Angeli got hurt in the game, and he's out for the year now with a ruptured Achilles.
It was really sad. I was watching it live, and it was a non-contact thing, of course. And when I saw the replay, you knew instantly it was the Achilles. It just was awful. But anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm glad you brought it up. Said that. I know there was a delay, but I'm sure part of this is like, let's give Syracuse credit. They won the game, and they went on the road. They went in there, and they dominated and won the game. But part of this, too, is Clemson is, I mean, this is 2 years in a row now where you're kind of looking around saying, have they adapted enough? And I'm not so sure Dabo Swinney's adapted to today's game.
I think any criticism of Clemson today is warranted. After watching that game, Syracuse, especially in the first half, went up and down the field and also did a terrific job defensively. I mean, Clemson scored late in the first half. I think they cut it to 24-14, but I mean, Syracuse dominated that game. And they struggled to beat UConn. They beat UConn in overtime. So that's like, this is not it's a good Syracuse team. I wouldn't consider them a powerhouse. This is a team that maybe they can win 8 games, maybe max out at 9, maybe. Mm-hmm. But they dominated Clemson, and Clemson has trouble. And guess who Clemson plays next? That would be Bill Belichick's North Carolina Tar Heels.
Yeah. Now the next part is, I thought Illinois was going to win the game because I thought they'd win the line of scrimmage. Now, when the two Scots, the two safeties, who you and I both know are really good, one couldn't play at all and the other one got thrown out in the first quarter. That didn't help. But I thought Indiana dominated the line of scrimmage. I was impressed by what I saw, by what they did up front.
Look at the numbers. They were crazy, crazy numbers. It was lopsided. It was, we ran somewhere to get something to eat, and we came back, and I looked at it like it's 35-7. Yeah. And I never expected that. I expected Illinois to win a very low, not very low scoring, but a very close game. And I think that game opened a lot of eyes. I heard a little bit of Brett Bielema's postgame, and he seemed like he was at a loss for words, which is unusual for him. Yes. And just, I think, hopes that it was a coaching thing. But to me, when you're dominated like that, I mean, that is extraordinary, a domination. You've got talent issues. Or at least you don't compare to Indiana.
Yeah.
And that's saying something.
Yeah. Amazing to see that play out, because I thought Texas Tech played great, got a chance to watch them. Florida's defense is really, really good, and their offense is just, I mean, wow. That's bad.
Yeah, for sure. I saw some of the Miami-Florida game, and I would agree with you on that Florida's defense deserves better. And, you talk about we're here on September 22nd, and how many college coaches, I mean, we've already seen Brent Pry fired, and how many others are really on the hot seat, and Billy Napier's and one of them. And I don't see Clemson firing Dabo, but certainly the criticism and the pressure he's under right now must be immense.
Yeah, it must be immense. And then Mike Gundy's the other guy that's got.
Mike Gundy, my goodness gracious, yes. Yeah. And I saw today, I guess, he opened his press conference and addressed everything and said, any criticism I get is deserved. Yeah.
Hey, credit where credit's due. I mean, they give him credit for that. When you look at Penn State, let's start with Drew. What have you thought of Drew Aller to this point?
I think, other than I could remember in the first 3 games the 2 passes that stick out to me that I would criticize him for is against FIU. He had Nick Singleton open in the flat, and he threw about 5 feet wide of him. And then the interception 2 weeks ago, you want to say, against Villanova to Katron Allen. It looked like, maybe he should have just thrown that ball away. Maybe, right. I don't know. But, I mean, other than that, I think he's done what Andy and James have asked him to do. I know people expect him to be, throwing for 400 yards in each game and, completing like he did in the first game, 22 for 26. Steve, you see practices, more than we do, but I think he's done what they've asked him to do in those games.
Yes.
And it's, again, the proof is in the pudding Saturday night against Oregon. We'll see what happens.
And then the next part is, look, they brought in the 3 receivers. They're all different skill sets. How do you feel? Do you feel like there's an upgrade at the wide receiver position from a year ago?
Oh, my gosh, I don't think there's any question. I don't think there's any question that there is. I think you could see they're all experienced. They all, they've made tough catches. All of them. All 3 of them have. And I really like them. I like Hudson. I just like the way he moves. I like the fact that he's willing to stick his nose in to block. Payne and Ross, I think Ross they're both weapons. Let me get that straight. And I think they can be deep weapons. And, Drew hasn't been asked to throw the ball deep that often. But I really, really like the 3 receivers. Yes, very much so. Payne had that drop against Villanova inside the 10 drop. Maybe, it was a good defensive play, but I thought he should have, I would classify it as a drop. But really, I think they're very, very good. I think there's a noticeable difference.
Yeah. Okay, so Katron Allen, you can see what a healthy offseason has meant to him and the jump that he has. Nick Singleton is from your area. How have you felt about Singleton to this point? Because I'd like to get your opinion as to what you think of him.
I feel the same way. I'm not going to look at Pro Football Focus stuff. That stuff is kind of
no, I don't
overrated. But I will say that I think he's done mostly what he's asked to do. I mean, the last 2 games he's been productive. He wasn't quite productive in the first game. Okay. I think there's more, I'll use the phrase that James has used with the offensive line after the FIU game. I think there's more meat on the bone with Nick Singleton. And I know James said a little while ago today he expects him to be powerful and explosive and dangerous like he has been throughout his career. I think there is some unwarranted panic, or not panic, but criticism. I think he's fine. I think James is correct in just saying he's just got to go play. Just let it ride. Let it rip. Let it ride. And I think Katron has done a great job of staying healthy and getting in shape. And, he's been outstanding. But also, if you remember, who was the best offensive player in the Orange Bowl for Penn State? Nick Singleton.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean,
the key with him is getting him in some space to make plays. Okay.
Right.
Well, let's just see what kind of space he's given on Saturday night. Okay. That's a big part of it.
Yes, I agree with you. I mean, I think I get the feeling after these 3 games. Not that we haven't seen everything, but we haven't seen everything. But I think they're working on things offensively and defensively. And, I'm going to go back to your question about Drew and then about the receivers. I heard Bill Cowher say this last week about Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. He said it takes a month of games for a quarterback, and if he has new receivers, to get the timing down. And I think all of that, especially offensively, I think Penn State may have used those first 3 games, and rightfully so, as preseason. I'm not trying to disparage any of the 3 opponents. I'm just saying, So I think it's possible. Do I know that for a fact? No, I don't know it for a fact. But I think it's possible. And I think you may see a different offense Saturday night. Different in terms of production, in terms of consistency, in terms of rhythm.
Which then brings me to the defense. Jim Knowles now has had 3 games plus a preseason to evaluate how this defense is picking up his concepts and what he wants them to do. What do you think of the defense so far?
I think it's extremely athletic and fast. I think the linebackers, I wrote about them for a story yesterday in our Sunday editions. I think the linebackers have been terrific.
Yeah.
I know they're concerned about the depth behind Campbell, Rojas, and DeLuca, but those 3 guys have been really, really good. I think James alluded to it today. I think Zakee Wheatley has played well, and I think he's going to get better and better because Jim Knowles asks so much of the safeties and the linebackers in this defense. And then you go, oh, yeah, by the way, deny Dennis Sutton and Zane Durant. And I think you're going to see them make an impact this Saturday, too, because they're going to be on the field more, as James said earlier today. But, I mean, have there been a little, maybe some glitches or some, that maybe can they be better on third down? Yes, of course they can. But yeah. I think the bottom line is the first-team defense hasn't allowed a touchdown.
Yeah, the crowd part of it. Oregon's played 1 game. It was at Northwestern. The attendance was 12,023. What impressed me about Ohio State last year above everything else was, I know it was a noon game, it was not a night game, but that crowd was wild, raucous, into it, loud, and Ohio State never once budged up front. Not one false start penalty in that game. That impressed me so much. How interesting you're going to be as to what kind of impact the crowd can have, not just on uplifting Penn State, but how disciplined Oregon is with the crowd.
I mean, I think that's something to watch. Of course. I mean, I haven't gone back, but you wonder how many games has Oregon played in front of 100,000 plus people.
Yeah.
I got to think it's not that many, and maybe it's been a while, but I'd have to really look. I mean, yes, the Rose Bowl against Ohio State last season, sure, but this is a true road game, and this is a game that the Penn State fans have been waiting for a long time. Not only because they know Oregon is so good, and Oregon won the Big Ten title last year, beating Penn State, but it's finally a primetime whiteout against a high-caliber, top-notch opponent. And it's been, as you know, 6 years since the last time that they've played somebody at night like this, and that was Michigan in 2019. So I think the crowd is going to be a big factor. I don't know how Oregon will respond. I don't know. I know it's a very well-coached team.
Yep.
I really, I mean, we know that, but not until you're in that moment, you really don't know how they're going to respond.
Rich, your work is as brilliant, if not more brilliant than ever. I appreciate it and always enjoy reading all of it.
Steve, thank you so much, and always enjoy being on.
Thank you, my good friend. Rich Scarcella, Reading Eagle, and other publications, but primarily the Reading Eagle. What great work he does. All right, we'll come back more in a moment. This half hour brought to you by our good friends at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury. The beverage supermarket imports domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. And 6 great flavors of slushies. Ready-to-drink cocktails, High Noon, Jack Daniels, Crown Royal, Pickle Bar led by the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. all at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury. The Beverage Supermarket on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.